Williams.
And I'm Billy Thomas.
And welcome to another edition of From the Woods Today. You know, we were just talking before the show of how we have a jam-packed show today, but you know what? They all kind of tie in together a little bit, but I think it's going to be a really cool show.
Yeah, really excited. I'm glad to have you all with us. But we've got three guests today talking about a number of different subjects. We're going to have Mr. William Duncan, who is a ranger with the Kentucky Division of Forestry. He's going to be talking about some of the work that they do in this is it World Ranger Appreciation Week Day month.
Yeah, Appreciation Day. So
it's
it's kind of neat. So that way you can figure out what a ranger actually does do, and you know they do a lot.
I was going to say people are going to be impressed.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's a great group, and they do a lot of great work. So we'll hear from William, and then we're going to have Miss Maddie Herrera. She's with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. She's working with the Prescribed Fire Council, and they've got some upcoming training. So we're going to be learning about those. Glad to have Maddie with us, and then we're going to have a kind of a guest we've not had on in a while, but we really love.
I know, and I told him, I was like, I'm just.
No, yes, Mr. Eric Comley. Eric is a Garrett County 4-H agent, and he's also a wildflower aficionado.
Awesome.
I know.
Mr. Taker.
Yes, but also just a great kind of instructor and leader and kind of connects people to the natural world. So he's going to be talking about summer wildflowers. So, hey, I'm just really excited about today's show. Glad to be with you all today. In a rainy day here in Lexington, Kentucky, but hopefully it's great wherever you all are. If you have questions for our presenters, please use the chat function. And if you're on YouTube or you're a podcast listener, please hit us up via email at forestry.extension@uky.edu, and we can respond that way. Yeah. But I'm excited to get this thing rolling.
Yeah, great to be with you. So let's get started. William, if you want to turn your camera on. Awesome. First time guest.
Greetings. I'm glad to have you with us. Appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to kind of share with folks kind of what rangers do here in Kentucky on this World Ranger Appreciation Day.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, maybe it would be good for our woodland owners to actually know everything that a ranger does. And since it was a World Ranger Appreciation Day, let's go. I was like, let's find out what they do. And William was the one that stepped up to the plate, and I appreciate that. Thank you for being on today.
Oh, I appreciate you guys for having me. It's great to share what we do as rangers for the Commonwealth.
And you do a lot, so we're appreciative of your work, but I'm excited for everybody else to kind of learn just how important you are to kind of forestry and forest management here in the state of Kentucky. So, William, we appreciate you, and we look forward to your presentation.
Go ahead and pull up your slides.
All right, guys, let's get it started here. I can't find my slides now.
No, it happens. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Zoom, like they'll do an update, and next thing you know, they're gone,
That bring it up?
Yes, it did. Now, if you can do that
full screen.
Yep.
There we go. So, guys,
perfect.
My name is William Duncan. I'm with the Kentucky Division of Forestry, and I'm the Harlan County Forest Ranger. I'm here to talk to you guys today on World Ranger Day about just what it means to be a forest ranger. So what is a forest ranger? Forest ranger is someone who exercises duty, loyalty, respect, integrity, and selfless service in serving as a leader in the communities that we are assigned. Forest ranger is also an individual who works in the community to help protect and grow our state and locally owned forest areas. A forest ranger can be an educator, cartographer, firefighter, first responder, forest warden, and law enforcement. These are just some of the roles that forest rangers may fill during their daily duties. Currently, we have 46 rangers serving in 6 branch offices within the 120 counties of the Commonwealth. Right now, Kentucky stands at 47% forested, so that's a lot of ground to cover. So there's a lot of training goes into being a forest ranger. We've got multiple qualifications over a variety of fields and equipment. We also have training in KFCA, which is the Kentucky Forest Conservation Act, and it outlines best management practices, or BMPs, which I'll talk about in just a second. We also do silvicultural and agricultural trainings for assisting foresters and landowners. We also do wildland fire suppression training And as a forest ranger in Kentucky, we must maintain at least a firefighter type 2 qualification, but we're not limited to firefighter type 2. I'm actually a firefighter type 1. We also do interagency trainings in conjunction with the U.S. Forest Service and other state agencies. There are available academies both inside and out of the state. We do in-house trainings on equipment, different tactics. I myself have been to the Virginia Fire Academy, the Tennessee Kentucky Fire Academy, Arkansas, and recently I even did the Southern Area Geographic Engine Academy at the Wendell H. Ford facility, which was put on by the U.S. Forest Service. So you can't talk about being a forest ranger without talking about the Kentucky Forest Conservation Act. The Kentucky Forest Conservation Act was passed by the General Assembly in 1998. And what it does is it's to ensure that Kentucky's forests continue to benefit the state's citizens. It requires loggers and landowners to use best management practices. And best management practices are practices that protect water quality during agricultural and silvicultural operations. There are 10 BMPs in total, which are broken into subcategories for a total of 32. And what we do is we go out and make sure that the loggers are maintaining the appropriate qualifications. That way they're up on the changing laws and what they need to abide by to maintain our forests and work on forest management. Master Logger certification is obtained through the University of Kentucky, and as a forest ranger, I must also maintain Master Logger certification in order to enforce the Kentucky Forest Conservation Act. It's a 3-day course with a 1-day recertification every 3 years. And so what we do is we walk logging sites, not necessarily just in our home county, but to look for infractions. We respond to complaints by the public as well of logging infractions, as well as other organizations, air, water. When we walk these logging sites, we document the entire site, mapping all the land impacted by the logging operations, ensuring that the BMPs are being followed, and to keep a record of our findings. And some of the things we're looking for are disturbed soil. We want to map culverts, water bars. We work with the logger to ensure that they understand and are following the BMPs as closely as they can to enforce the Kentucky Forest Conservation Act to make sure that our forests are properly managed and that our dirt doesn't end up in the Mississippi River. So what we do with the Kentucky Forest Conservation Act is we're looking to identify sources and types of water pollution like sediment from creek crossings or trails that they've made, and logging debris. It could be slash, treetops. We also want to watch for water temperature increases. We make sure that not too many trees are being cut away from the streams to prevent too much sunlight from getting in and impeding on our aquatic species or the algae. We also make sure to watch for trash and fluids, make sure everything's properly contained and disposed of and not left in our forests. It is the ranger's job to make sure that all BMPs are being followed as outlined in the Kentucky Forest Conservation Act. When BMPs aren't being followed, it is the ranger's responsibility to cite these violations and to ensure that the loggers and landowners of the Commonwealth are doing their due diligence to help maintain our streams and waterways. So another big thing that we do is we assist our stewardship foresters and FIA foresters. As a forest ranger, we assist all of the Kentucky Division of Forestry's foresters in stewardship opportunities. We encourage the public to enroll in stewardship programs that the state offers. And the way we do this is if we run into a landowner or someone with a lot of land, we hand out pamphlets that has the applications in them, some information like that. But we also assist the foresters in taking measurements, tallying the number of trees in and around an area. We also do sick tree response. We go out and do champion tree measurements. These are just some of the ways that we assist our foresters in the Commonwealth. And the way we do that is we use Biltmore sticks to pull DBH, the diameter at breast height, clinometers for pulling height. And stewardship covers a wide variety of both challenges and opportunities. You've got timber stand improvement, invasive species eradication, and prescribed fire. These are just a few examples of recommendations the forester may make to help the landowner develop their property. And these recommendations are based on the data that we assist in collecting and what the landowner hopes to achieve with their property. Some of the things that a landowner might want to do is they may just want to do general forest management, fish and wildlife species that they may want to cater to, soil and water conservation to prevent erosion, or maybe they just want to make sure their land's healthy and look for insects, disease, and invasive plant ID and control. And then on the lighter side of things, you've got recreation. Maybe they want to develop their land for hiking, hunting, horseback riding, and camping. These are just some of the things that the landowners can try to achieve using the stewardship. We also assist forest inventory and analysis, or FIA foresters, in locating and collecting data on site-specific plots for the FIA program of the United States Department of Agriculture and Forest Service. We help the Forest Service and the Kentucky Division of Forestry to keep up with how the state's land is being used. Each site is revisited on a 5 to 7 year rotation to track the ongoing changes of our nation's forests and the land surrounding them. So you can't talk about being in the Division of Forestry without talking about state forests. We also serve in the state forests in and around our home county. I'm fortunate enough to have continuous state forest where I'm at. There are currently 10 state forests across the Commonwealth. And what we do is we help to provide trail maintenance, maybe clearing the roads to make sure people can get through them. We also do timber stand improvement. We help with timber sales. We work with our local loggers in and around our counties to get the word out if there's going to be a timber sale on state forest. We also assist by marking timber for both timber sales and timber stand improvement. And we also provide wildland fire suppression on state forested areas. Education's very important for forest rangers. You can see a slide here. This is a fellow ranger from Bell County. And what we do is in our home county and around the other surrounding counties, we schedule and seek out education opportunities all over the state. And we do this by utilizing the Smoky Bear program to teach the youth of the Commonwealth about wildfire prevention and campfire safety. We bring Smoky Bear to the children of the Commonwealth in a classroom setting. And what we do is we actually have someone out, it could be a ranger or a crew member dressed as Smoky. We read the Smoky story. We hand out Smoky materials. We really try to get these kids understanding about just what they can do to prevent forest fires. We also work closely with the 4-H program as well as other organizations to teach kids about wildland fire suppression and fire prevention. This picture here is an example of us set up at Martins Fork Lake in Harlan County. The 4-H does a week-long program for 5th and 6th graders in the county, and we provide a portion of the teaching all week, as well as with Kentucky Farm Bureau. I do one at the Pine Mountain Settlement School. They do it Forestry Days, and it's for 7th and 8th graders, and we teach them about wildland fire suppression as well as opportunities within the division. We also train newly hired individuals for our firefighting crew, inmates, and sometimes local volunteer fire departments. And what we do is we try to teach them about the weather and anything pertaining to wildland fire suppression, the equipment, the tools, safety on the fire line, as well as tactics for wildland fire suppression. We also have 2 nurseries across the state. As you can see, here's an example of a tree distribution in Hazard Branch. We as rangers do seasonal seed collection during the fall to help provide trees to the Commonwealth. Then in the spring, usually, if we've got some trees, they'll spread them out among the branches so that we can do tree distribution to the citizens as well. So fire season makes up the vast majority of a ranger's job, almost 50% actually. We spend 5 months out of the year focused on fire season. Currently, there have been 628 fires in the state of Kentucky this year. Thousands of acres burned every year across the Commonwealth. Just this past fall, I had one fire that was 1,500 acres and burned over into Virginia. We've burned 15,000 acres since November. Mostly these are caused by open burning and arson, but they can be lightning strikes or downed utilities. Multiple resources end up tied up in these suppression efforts, taking away from what we do for the people of the Commonwealth. And so what we do is we have burning restrictions within the Division of Forestry. You have two fire seasons, a spring fire season and a fall fire season. The spring fire season is February 15th through April 30th, and the fall fire season is October 1st through December 15th. There's no burning between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., no burning within 150 feet of a wood line or structure unless there's snow on the ground. And guys, I've seen it burn with snow on the ground in Harlan and other counties. I've fought fire on Christmas, Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving. So here's an example of another flyer that we pass out explaining the difference between burning restrictions and burning bans. So what we do is we enforce the burning restrictions set in place during these time frames, but we also stay up on whether our county has enacted a burn ban. That way we can share the information with the public. We work closely with the public to make sure the burn restrictions are being followed. This involves patrolling, responding to calls, word of mouth, as well as hanging up flyers. We work very closely with the public trying to get this information out due to the fact that there's a higher volume of fires within the Commonwealth during these dates. And there's several factors that contribute to that. You've got the heavy fuel load in the fall with all the leaves coming off the trees. In the spring, you've got people burning off gardens. These are just some examples. Here's an example on this slide of our fire danger stand that we have outside of every branch office. And it's to give the people of the Commonwealth an idea of how badly it could burn that day. And during fire seasons, we are available to the Commonwealth at a moment's notice, along with a crew of individuals trained in wildland fire suppression. The crews can vary, but the standard is one dozer operator, one crew leader, and crew. The forest ranger is responsible for the crew and anyone who comes on the fire line. We work closely with the community and use our ties to the community that we're serving in to recruit individuals to join our crews in these efforts. So during fire season, failure to adhere to the burning restrictions or burn bans, if one is in place, can result in fines. It is the ranger's responsibility to keep track of all personnel, resources, and affected properties to write a citation upon completion of suppression efforts. In some instances, this even requires the ranger to uphold the citation in a court of law if the fine goes unpaid. These citations can run into the thousands of dollars depending on equipment, personnel, and time spent on the fire. So how do we deal with these fires during fire season? Well, wildland fire suppression involves many different things. And here in the state of Kentucky, you've got a lot of different, like where I'm at, you've got the mountains, you get on into western Kentucky, the rolling hills, north to central, it's a little flatter. So rangers face many different types of terrain and topography in their suppression efforts. This means being knowledgeable of numerous tactics and equipment is key, especially where I'm at. Like I mentioned, the mountains, you've got Black Mountain. It's the highest point in Kentucky. You could be looking at a couple thousand feet in elevation change, top to bottom on the fire line. So how do we stop the fire? What we do, everyone remembers the fire triangle, heat, fuel, and oxygen. We remove fuel from the fire triangle. Typically where I'm at, that's leaf litter, down logs. You get out into some of the other areas, you've got heavier grass, and it must be removed down to the soil. We also ring the fire entirely, sometimes connecting into a road or a river. something big enough to contain it. Sometimes we can do this by hand. Sometimes equipment has to be used like bulldozers. Situation dictates, and the ranger must decide the best course of action. This means being adaptable to not only our situation, but to the crew and to the people of the Commonwealth situation. We work closely with volunteer fire departments in keeping the public safe. Preserving life and personal property is our number one goal. This involves multiple hand tools, heavy equipment, and in some instances, even aerial support. There's a picture here. This is in Knox County in 2022. This is U.S. Forest Service offering aerial support. There was a pond nearby that they could pull water from. In 2016, we worked in conjunction with the Army National Guard, who supplied their Black Hawk helicopters to transport our Bambi buckets, where we then coordinated with them to make drops on extreme fires. So we also take part in prescribed fire. And in the division, we can become certified as a burn boss as well as with the U.S. Forest Service. I'm currently working on becoming a burn boss within the division. It's used for private landowners as well as assisting on the Daniel Boone. I've been on multiple burns at Stearns, Redbird. I know some people's worked with them at Land Between the Lakes. We also work with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and RX fire or controlled burns are used to eradicate invasive species, develop land for hunting, promote regeneration of specific species of trees, and to eliminate heavy fuel loading on a property to prevent future fires. These are just some of the examples. It's like fighting a wildfire in reverse. We remove the fuels down to the soil and burn the interior based on guidelines set by the burn boss and what the landowner is seeking to achieve with their property. And as a ranger, we take part in every aspect from the burn boss all the way down to holding. So something else we all get to take part in is natural disaster relief. As a ranger, we have the opportunity not only to assist the needs of the people of the Commonwealth, but also of the nation. Multiple rangers within the division travel across the nation to help. We've got rangers in Oregon, California. I just found out yesterday that I'm leaving for Idaho on Saturday morning, and we fill various roles serving on hand crews, engines, as well as heavy equipment like bulldozers. We also take part in hurricane relief efforts as well. Within the Commonwealth, we are also available for many disaster relief situations. The flooding in eastern Kentucky in the fall of 2022 saw multiple rangers, along with other individuals within the division and state government, respond from all over the state. As with the flooding, we answered the call with multiple ice and snowstorms as well as tornadoes over the years. This can include anything from search and rescue to down tree removal, road clearing, to handing out water and supplies within these affected communities. So guys, I hope that gives you a better understanding of what a forest ranger does. And I really appreciate you guys for giving me a chance to speak on behalf of my fellow rangers and coworkers within the Division of Forestry.
Well, William, I think they'll be proud of what you did.
Yes,
Good
they
job, buddy.
do. You know, with it being a World Ranger Day, first of all, we just want to thank you for everything that you all do for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Yeah, we didn't touch on half of it either. You know, it just I'm sure there's a whole lot more, and you know, within those topics, and we just appreciate all that you do for the woodland owners of Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, constantly being on call and being ready to go at a drop of a notice, right? Real quick. Yeah, that's impressive. William, we really do appreciate you and the work that you all do. You know, the Kentucky Division of Forestry is full of a lot of great folks who do a lot for the Commonwealth. So, you know, we're so proud and glad to be a partner with you all and the organization. You know, together we're trying to address, you know, many of the challenges that we're facing here in our woodlands. So it's certainly great to have strong partners, and certainly there's none better than the Kentucky Division of Forestry and that stuff. So thank you very much.
Oh, you guys are welcome. It's an honor to serve the Commonwealth and be a part of this, just the bigger picture, our forest management.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loved it. Loved it. Great stuff. William, we were just talking as you were going. We're like, man, we got to get him back on. You did good stuff.
All the time, guys.
All right. Well, you have a safe trip to Idaho, but hopefully you can stick around for a little bit if we've got some questions.
Yes. I'm stick around for questions.
Excellent. Well, William, thank you again for that presentation, and we'll look forward to having you on again real soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Going to keep the fire theme going.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to have Maddie coming up with us.
Maddie, if you want to turn your camera on. So, I mean, he touched a little bit about prescribed fire. And that's, you're having some events that are actually talking about that.
Yes. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Well, first I'll introduce myself. My name is Maddie Heredia. I'm with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, but I am here today speaking to you all as a representative of the Kentucky Prescribed Fire Council. I'm currently the chair of the Information and Education Committee, and I'll talk a little bit more about committees and how you can get involved in the Fire Council. But committees are a great place to start. So let me share my screen real quick. You all seeing the website?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Awesome. So again, I'm here with the Kentucky Prescribed Fire Council, and the Fire Council's goal is to promote the safe and beneficial use of controlled burnings across the Commonwealth. We are made up of state, federal partners, nonprofit organizations, universities, as well as private landowners. And I will go ahead and say right here that private landowners are a huge part of making prescribed fire across the landscape a success here in the Commonwealth. I think over 90% of our natural areas, our forests, remnant grasslands, and our natural habitat in the state are owned by private landowners. So we want you involved. If you're interested in prescribed fire at all, the Kentucky Prescribed Fire Council website is a great place to start. So that being said, we work directly with the Kentucky Division of Forestry, who's the fire authority in the state, to kind of set up trainings, official certificates and programs. William mentioned the Kentucky Certified Burn Boss certification that he's working towards himself right now, and that is set up through the Kentucky Prescribed Fire Council. So this is where you can go to get certified to burn on your own property. So as we have an annual meeting every year, some of our events, and then we are on our second annual field trips and webinar series. This year we are only offering field trips, but they're coming up and they're really great opportunities. So the first one that we've got coming up is a visit to Fort Campbell. Their forestry department is going to put on an amazing field trip for us called the Implementation of Prescribed Fire on Fort Campbell and Forested Stands. You don't have to be a prescribed fire practitioner. You can be a private landowner. You can be anyone that's just interested in learning more about prescribed fire. These field trips are set up to kind of a little bit of a show and tell, to have the hosts kind of show how they use prescribed fire. They usually involve walking around, some treated areas, talking about what they did for management, why they do it. And this one in particular, the Fort Campbell is going to have a lot of their equipment on display too. So if you're new to prescribed fire, not really sure what you need to get started, it's a wide variety of tools that you can use, but they're going to have some on display to kind of share and do a little bit of a show and tell. So this will be a great trip. I will also say that our field trips are free to our members, which to become a member, all you have to do is go onto the website. You can click this login or sign up button up here, and it's $10 for an annual membership. So you just have to sign up once. You can choose an automatic payment, and it'll renew your membership every $10 or every year, and it's just $10. So if you're not a member and you really want to attend one of these field trips, you can become a member today for just $10, and that makes you eligible for both of the field trips that we have coming up this year. So you just pay once and you can go on both. The second field trip we have will be in October. It's prescribed fire for native seed production. Roundstone Native Seed is located in Upton, Kentucky, and they have been growing and supplying high quality, regionally adaptive, native and naturalized seed in the Eastern US for over 20 years. They use prescribed fire. They're a big part of the Prescribed Fire Council, very active members, and they use prescribed fire to on their production fields when it comes to promoting plants that are fire adapted and kind of need that that fire to kind of run through for their life cycle. And so they use it on their production fields, and they're going to give us a great tour of some of those fields and their facilities and just talk about how they use prescribed fire. So two very different groups in the state, both using prescribed fire, and they're kind enough to invite us out to show us how they use it. And, it's these field trips are a great place to get practitioners, people just interested in prescribed fire, folks wanting to implement it or recreate it on their own properties. It's a great way to network. So not only are we going to walk and talk and do some cool things on these sites, but it's a great place to meet people who are interested in the practice in general. So those are the two workshops that I really wanted to highlight to you all today. I also wanted to shout out, and mention that we do have some trainings. These are I don't have exact dates. We've done most of ours this year, but we have two of our official trainings. We've got the Kentucky Certified Burn Boss certification. That's to become a burn boss yourself. And if you are a landowner and you're just interested in getting involved in prescribed fire, don't necessarily want to go the full route of being a burn boss, we have this new course called the 8-Hour Landowner Course. And essentially, if you take this, there's information about how to sign up for a mailing list for opportunities on the website. So I just wanted to plug this in here. But if you take this course, you are eligible to participate in what we call our Learn and Burns. And we will, host a couple across the state. We'll do an actual prescribed burn with landowners and professionals at the same time. And that's a really great way if you are interested in prescribed fire, but you're not confident in doing it on your own yet. This is a great way to get involved. And I'll leave you all with a photo. I don't know if you can see that, of our last Learn and Burn that we just did. So this was about 30 acres in Nelson County. And this group is composed of federal, state, private professional practitioners. And as well, I think there was 5 or 6 landowners there that day that got to, some of them for the first time got to, conduct a prescribed fire. Some of them keep coming back because they love it so much. So I'll just leave you with that.
Maddie, that's really cool.
Yeah.
We get a chance to interact with a lot of woodland owners here in Kentucky, and prescribed fire is something that comes up quite frequently, right? So it's really nice that you all have this opportunity for landowners to kind of, get their feet wet in it in this 8-hour course, and then participate in these Learn and Burns. And we'd love to try to help spread the word about those going forward for you all as well, because again, it serves our woodland owners. So Maddie, great job. Really appreciate you and the work that Kentucky Prescribed Fire Council is doing.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I do want to mention, William mentioned both wildfire and prescribed fire, and there's definitely a difference. We've got good fire and bad fire in the state, and sometimes we can help mitigate the bad fire with good fire. So there's a lot of uses for this tool, and it's very exciting. I won't be able to stick around for questions today, but I have an email address that I can leave with y'all, and anyone that has any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out.
Go ahead and drop it in the chat pod, and we can get it from there. But Maddie, thank you again. We'll look forward to having you back on real soon.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, it's been hot for a while, right?
Exactly.
And it's still hot.
It is still hot.
It's still summer in Kentucky. But it's still beautiful.
There's some beautiful stuff out there. And Eric Comley is here to talk about that. Eric, if you want to turn your camera on. Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Glad to have you, Eric.
How are you all doing?
Doing great on this kind of sweltery summer day.
Yeah. So you were going to talk about some of the summer wildfire flowers. I said fire because that's what we've been doing. That we can see out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if it's okay, I'll share my screen and we will go from there. Hold on 1 second. I apologize.
That's okay. And a lot of these, I'm assuming pictures that you're going to see are probably pictures that you have taken. Am I right on that?
Yeah. So, it's one of those things that I really enjoy, the opportunity to get out and see some of our, spring, summer, and fall wildflowers. And so anytime that I can spend a day in the field or spend a day in the forest, roadside, wherever it might be. I'm plenty happy to do that. So so we'll go ahead and get started. Can you all see it? Is it
Yes,
okay?
sir. You're good to
Good
go.
to go.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, excellent. So my name is Eric Conley. I'm the Garrett County 4-H Youth Development Agent, and they introduced me as and I'm definitely I don't know if I would consider myself an aficionado, but I'm a lover of all things wildflower. And that's primarily come from I find that when I was a kid that I was a big lover of snakes and all of those kinds of things. I want to be a herpetologist, but they move around a lot, and I find that wildflowers tend to stay in the same spot. So I'm always excited about getting out and not having to chase something. So as far as summer wildflowers, it's the when and the where. So the first thing is that some summer wildflowers, and it really depends on the source that you're looking at. They can range from anywhere from mid-May to mid-August, and that's according to. And I'll just stick this up in front of my face. Whoop, is Dr. Barnes' book, which is The Wildflowers and Ferns of Kentucky. And then you can also get into like lengths of time where we're talking about meteorological summer from June to August, or even some consider when you get into mid-September as well. Part of the reason that that has started to change or changes a little bit is because of what we're seeing with blooming periods. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that, but those shifts in bloom times are creating some challenges and some issues, especially with ecosystem rhythms. And so we're seeing different blooming periods, but we can talk a little bit more about that later. Where would we find summer wildflowers? These are generally attributed to like roadsides and fields, and that's what we think about when we think about wildflowers in the summer. When we think about forests, generally we're thinking about like ephemeral wildflowers, or we're thinking about things that are short-lived. But forests can still have summer wildflowers that are just typically found along those edges. And you can obviously still see some beautiful color, but most of the time we're talking about things that we find roadside and things that we find in fields. And so, like right now, it's the perfect time to get out and see like your purple coneflowers and your black-eyed Susans and rattlesnake master and all those different flowers that we would typically see in fields. If you're going to preserves, I know that we here in Garrett County, we have 3 different preserves, and I love to get out to those because that's where I'm starting to see a lot of our summer wildflowers. And I know I wish Maddie was still on here. I know that she could talk a little bit more about how prescribed fire is incredibly important to make sure for seed dispersion and for nutrients back into the soil regarding those summer wildflowers. But I'm sure that she could talk about that at a later date. And then the picture that's the flower that's photographed there is ragged fringed orchid. That's one that generally shows up kind of in mid to late June. And it's a forest edge. Sometimes you'll find it in more in kind of like pine forests. But this picture was actually taken at North Central 4-H Camp, which is Nicholas County, dead center of right in the middle of the bluegrass region there. So it doesn't always have to be like those acidic forests, but it's a really beautiful flower. So I'm going to take you all back to 3rd grade for a second, and we're going to talk a little bit about 3rd grade and what we learned in 3rd grade, keeping in mind that flowering periods are different for spring and summer wildflowers, and the spring wildflowers, and like we had talked about before, those ephemeral wildflowers are very short-lived, and because they are flowering to work with available pollinators and to beat the leafing out of the trees in the forest. Remember that, those ephemeral wildflowers, those trilliums and trout lilies, and all those really beautiful wildflowers we see in the spring, that they're really working hard to make sure that they can get up and get flowering and be gone by the time that all of the leaves are out on the trees, and they're starting to lose some of those resources. So summer flowers have a little bit longer flowering period because they typically don't flower inside of a forest, and so we see them in places where they're going to have more exposure to sunlight, obviously more exposure to water, depending on what's going on as far as our weather is concerned. I know we prior to the last week or so, or last 3 or 4 days, in the state of Kentucky, we were in major drought, and so the last 3 or 4 days have probably not only saved some of our summer wildflowers, but also some of our summer crops as well. And then the availability of nutrients in the soil as well. And then the pollinators become there. Generally in the summer, we're thinking about our summer. We're thinking about bees being out and being active, and so we see bees and moths and butterflies and a variety of flies. We see all kinds of different insects that are out and active during during the summer season. So even though we see pollinators that are out during the spring season, summer season is really where we feel like that we're seeing the most activity from our pollinators. And so that kind of lends itself to a little bit more of the summer season. So a little bit above third grade, and I didn't talk about this. That's a soldier beetle that's on a oxeye daisy that's there. And then this one is called pine sap. And we have three different members of this group, Monotropa, Monotropsis in Kentucky. And this one, if you've ever seen Indian pipe or what is called ghost pipe as well, this one is in that same group. It just has multiple flowers on a single stem. So as far as the above third grade stuff is concerned, this is the photoperiods. And so we talk about how some flowers or some plants react to photoperiods. So there are some plants, and I mentioned trout lily there, and I know that that's a spring wildflower, but there are some summer flowers that also do this as well, but react to the amount and the length of available light to them. And so gardeners will, if you're a gardener and you're using wildflowers in your garden for pollination, for pollinators, or to just surround a garden so that pollinators or insects are more attracted to those rather than the things that you're trying to protect. Maybe you have an edible garden, then some flowers will react to different photoperiods. And so some like a lot more light, some like a lot less light. And so it's one of those things that we consider when we talk about summer wildflowers as well. Is what is our available light? And we'll talk a little bit more about that with this. So then we get into a little bit more sciencey stuff when we talk about phytochrome and phlorogen. And phytochrome is a pigment, and that picks up on the light changes in certain plants and activates phlorogen in the plant. And when we think about this, the example that I was given in the extension publication that's listed there was on June 21st, when we have our most light, which is our summer solstice, and we have our most light on June 21st. After that, the light, and before that and after that, the light is changing because of how it's entering into the atmosphere. So we're even seeing changes almost immediately from one day to the next based on the type of light that we're seeing. And then the phlorogen is I just completely blanked, but it is a hormone that is released, and it starts to create flowering buds, and also not only for the spring season, but also for immediate flowering season in the summer as well. So let's get into looking at some of our typical and some of our rare flowers that we see in the summertime. So this is one that should be fairly common in a lot of fields and places that you see. This is called purple passion flower, or maypop is another name for it. Scientific name is Passiflora incarnata. And this one is found pretty much all over the place. We have 2 different species in Kentucky, and it has a wild looking flower there. I mean, all the different pieces and parts that are in there, it's just really incredible to look at. But a beautiful, absolutely beautiful flower, obviously very unique. It grows on a vine, and so you'll see it kind of vining around, and has these kind of large bulbs on it. And those are the maypops, and they are edible. You just need to make sure that you eat them when they're ripe. And anything that I say is edible or that is, eat when you're ripe, you want to make sure that you do your own personal research about what it looks like when it's ripe, if there's any side effects, maybe it's something that you're allergic to, but please make sure that you do your own personal research um, before you get in there and just start nibbling on whatever it is that you see. This one is Joe Pyeweed. Dr. Gumbert is on, I think, and this was the very first plant. I mean, she really drilled the scientific name for this one in my brain. So this one was, at the time, it was, well, now it's Eutrochium fistulosum, but grows to be very tall. Can be somewhere between 6 and 8 feet tall. It's pretty common in fields across Kentucky. We have multiple species of Joe Pye weed that are across the state of Kentucky. Some that grow up on Black Mountain that are, or not Black Mountain, but in that area of Harlan, which William talked about, that are rare in Kentucky. I think Eutrochium stelii grows in that area, and so just really a cool plant and very necessary for pollinators. This is one of our federally endangered plants. This one is white fringeless orchid, or what is also called monkey-faced orchid, although I don't ever see the monkey face when I look at these, but just an absolutely stunning flower. And it's federal. Not only is it endangered in Kentucky, but it's also federally endangered. I think it's listed as well. I'm not sure at what level it may. I don't know if it's federally endangered or federally threatened, but we can always double check those things. But just an absolutely stunning flower. This is one of our orchids in Kentucky, of which we have more than 40 species of, and we'll see a couple more of those as we travel through here. This is yellow touch-me-not, and we have the of several varieties of touch-me-not in Kentucky, and it's called touch-me-not because its seed actually goes through and has one of the coolest terms, like botanical terms, explosive dehiscence. And so what happens is when you touch that, it basically pops and it sends seeds out all over the place. Okay. It's also used for a wide variety of medicinal uses for like poison ivy and chiggers and those things that we generally just hate. So just a cool plant. There's also orange jewelweed, which is the same thing as touch-me-not, orange touch-me-not. I think we have a purple one too, but I think it might be invasive. So this one is called rose pink, Sebacia angularis, and is a fairly common field flower. This one is, oh gosh, it is partridge pea, and it has a really complicated scientific name. It's like Chemacrista fasciculata, Chemacrista fasciculata, I think it's the name. But it's another common field flower as well. Tick seed, which is very common, and we see that all over the place. This one is one of the lobelias. This is Lobelia syphilitica. This is great blue lobelia. And this is starting to get into the edge of summer into fall. So this one will start to bloom kind of in that late August and September. But, once again, this is one of those that if it's the light is available or the resources are available, you may see it earlier or you may see it later than this one. And then the scientific name should tell you a little bit something about what they thought it cured. The scientific name is Lobelia syphilitica. So I won't go any farther than that. This is yellow fringed orchid. It's not terribly common in Kentucky, but if you get into places, you can see that it will be locally abundant as well. Black-eyed Susan. Black-eyed Susan is really fascinating because of course, the summertime is when we start to see a lot of our composites or oh gosh, I'm completely blanking on it, but a lot of our composite flowers. And so of course, in the middle there where the dark is, those are the disc flowers, and then along the edge, those are called ray flowers. And the ray flowers are what we would call petals. Those are they have ultraviolet lights that are on them, or ultraviolet stripes. We can't see those, but pollinators and insects are attracted to those. And so that's what, so if you're looking to put something in your garden that can bring in insects, generally all of your echinaceas and hirsutas, or your rudbeckias, they typically are great about bringing in insects. And then I'll kind of move through these a little bit quicker, but this is Monarda fistulosa. This is called bee balm. That is not a bee there. That is a type of moth that is working on it right there. Cardinal flower, another one of our lobelias, Lobelia cardinalis. And this one generally likes creeks and streams. And so if you're around a creek or a stream, this is one that I would keep my eye out on. Swamp milkweed. Of course, we get into milkweed season, so you have all the different milkweeds that are blooming, and all of them are incredibly important as far as our butterfly species are concerned. Some are typically the ones that we would see for the monarchs, and everybody gets really hyped up on monarchs, but we want to make sure that we have a great diversity of milkweed so that we can not only attract monarchs, but a variety of other butterflies and insects as well. And then finally, this is one of the ladies' tresses. This is another one of our orchids in Kentucky. So this is Spiranthus, and there's several different species of Spiranthus in Kentucky. And off the top of my head, I mean, I'm not sure which one this one is. I took a picture of it several years ago, but this is one of our lady tresses orchids. Absolutely beautiful. But the summertime is when they will thrive, and especially in roadside ditches and places, you'll see a variety of ladies tresses. So, and they have these beautiful corkscrew flowers that come up, and it really just depends on the one that you're looking at. So if anybody has any questions about summer wildflowers, I'll stop sharing my screen, and we can, I guess, Billy and Renee, you can take us into a question and answer session, and we'll go from there.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
Very
Love
beautiful.
it.
Yeah, nice work,
Yes.
Eric.
Yeah. I mean, and I know you go all over across the state to get all those pictures, and it just amazes me. Like, I know sometimes when you've done videos in the past, you'll like, oh, here's this and here's that. And I'm like, I don't even know that I would have seen that,
Right.
but I don't see how you keep all those flowers and everything in your brain. There's no way I could.
Yeah. The trees are hard enough for me, Eric, but your ability to master the flowers is impressive.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, that's why I travel with the stack of books.
There you go. I get it. Now lean on others. I get it. No, it's really cool because, I think, people enjoy their woods for so many reasons right out there. And certainly I think if we get out there and see some of what the summer has to offer in these wildflowers, I think it'll be really impressive. I think sometimes people may shy away from the woods when it's too hot or not, but get out there and check out your woods and see what's going on in them. As Eric showed us, there's a lot of cool, beautiful wildflowers out there, even in the summer.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to have to put him on for fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me schedule you.
Yeah, we'll schedule you for this one, Eric. So, no, good stuff. Really appreciate it. Folks, if you all have any questions for Eric or William still with us in the background, for either one of those gentlemen, we'd be happy to entertain those now. But again, we appreciate you. I know you're a busy gentleman. You probably got a lot of state fair stuff coming up. And we appreciate all you do, Eric, for the youth of Garrett County and for the woodland owners here in Kentucky and those who care about our woods, kind of highlighting just some of the really jewels that we have.
Yeah. So thank you for being on today. We greatly appreciate it.
Yep. Good
You're
stuff.
welcome.
We got some nice comments from some folks. So yeah, that's great.
They enjoy your presentations and the beautiful images.
Yes.
All right.
Well, folks, you're missing your opportunity to get a question in to either Eric or William real quick. And I will remind our YouTube viewers as well as our podcast listeners, if you all have questions, hit us up via email at forestry.extension@uky.edu, and we can track these gentlemen down and get you some answers.
Definitely. All right. Well, it looks
Good
like
deal.
they did it.
All right.
Oh, is there a good app to identify plants?
Good question.
Yeah, so the one that I go to is iNaturalist. The reason I lean on iNaturalist more than there's like Plant Snap and some other ones I lean on iNaturalist a little bit more because I know that um, if you get a picture of it, it has to go through three resources before it's considered what is called research grade. And then in addition to that, it also goes into a data bank, and that if somebody's out there doing postgraduate work or doctoral work, and you take a picture of whatever random flower is out there and it gets correctly identified, then there's the chance that they could use that and you could be cited in some sort of research or whatnot. So if
Really?
you're if you're looking to just kind of tag along and just take pictures of random stuff and then end up eventually in uh some sort of journal somewhere, then it's not the worst.
Very cool.
So,
I think it's just a great reminder we all can contribute, right, in various ways. So, no,
oh, absolutely. And that's the beauty of those apps, and the fact that people are on here like this and doing these programs, is that we send out these citizen scientists or volunteers that will go out, and many hands make light work. And so it's one of those, if you can get out and just on your trails that you typically are on in your backyard or wherever it might be, and you take pictures of things and put them on apps like that, then at least that exists out there as a log or a record that you can lean back on.
Right. Someone asked too, where can they get seeds?
yeah, some of these wildflower seeds, maybe they don't have them or don't think they have them on their property. Is that a viable way to kind of get some of these going, Eric?
I think as far as seeds are concerned, that's kind of out of my purview there. But I think like Roundstone and some of those places that we've already discussed, that you'd probably be able to Google search some of those things. I know that when we get those wildflower seed packets, and then you end up with something that's like a native to Colorado or whatever. But yeah, it's I would go through, if you just Google like Kentucky native seeds, and I'm sure that you'll have some places that'll come up and be able to give you those resources.
Yeah, and you mentioned a good one. I know Roundstone, certainly when it comes to some of our native warm season grasses and some of our other plants, they do such a great job. They're actually going to be hosting us next week, next Saturday, August 10th, for the Woodland Owner Short Course. We've got 100 woodland owners signed up to be out there, and Roundstone's going to be showing us around. So I'm sure if you're one of those, you might get a chance to get some of those seeds there.
Exactly. So someone was wondering if you had a favorite public natural area for seeing these summer or fall
Or a
flowers.
few, if you're
Or a
familiar
few,
with some
yes.
across the state.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll of course plug the ones that we have here in Garrett County. I mean, Tom Dupree Nature Preserve. That one is a fantastic one because right in the Circle parking lot, there's all kinds of things that are in flower even right now. And so I really enjoy that one. Tom Dorman, which is also in Garrett County, that follows the Palisades. It's not as much open field, but it's really a beautiful one. Tom Dorman one or Tom Dupree is fantastic because it has some open field areas where you're going to see some of your summer wildflower, or a lot of your summer wildflowers, your gray-headed coneflowers and purple coneflower, and like I said, rattlesnake master, and a lot of different things are going to be in there. Um, and then outside of that, oh, um, well, just McCreary County. Just go to McCreary County.
Yeah, no, I got a lot. You got some
Uh,
waterfalls down there in that area.
Waterfalls, arches,
Yeah,
fields.
it's cool stuff.
It's just a beautiful, absolutely beautiful county, and there's so much to see there. A ton of, with the access to Big South Fork and everything. It's just a beautiful, beautiful county.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll point out that Dr. Gumbert had placed a nice link in there for our viewers, showing you some of the resources for native plant materials here in Kentucky. Certainly appreciate that, Dr. Gumbert. And Eric, we got one last question. How can we get rid of invasives without hurting our wildflowers?
If I were you, I would talk to your local extension office. I mean, I hate to be that person, but I will absolutely plug our extension
Yep,
offices.
Definitely.
One in
do
all
all the
100.
time. So.
There's one in all 120 counties, and they have access to specialists and research at the university level. And so, if there's a particular invasive, it may call for a particular herbicide or pesticide, And so, so I would check with them first. And if they don't know, they'll absolutely send you on up the chain so that somebody at the university level can get you the information that you need to get rid of our invasives and get some of those wildflowers back in the ground.
Great advice, Eric, for a wide variety of things. Start with your local county extension office and they can get you pointed in the right direction.
Definitely.
Eric, thank
Eric,
you. Good
awesome.
stuff. Good
Thank
stuff
you.
as
Really
always.
appreciate you being on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Take care. We'll have you back again soon. All right. Good show. Really, I really appreciate
Did I
it.
not say it was packed?
It was packed. Yeah. I know we're going overtime right
Yeah,
now.
a
But
little
appreciate William doing a great job talking about Rangers here in Kentucky on World Ranger Day.
Nice.
So it's pretty exciting. Big thanks to William and the whole crew at the Kentucky Division of Forestry for all they do. And then we had Maddie Herrera. She's with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service talking about the Kentucky Prescott Fire Council and some of the workshops and trainings. If you're a landowner, now that they've got this 8-hour course you can do, that may be something you want to check out. And Eric brought it all home with a beautiful presentation on some of the summer wildflowers we see here in Kentucky. So, folks, we do this for you. So thank you all for being with us. If there's anything you'd like to see on a future episode, let us know. We have a little survey link that you can access.
You can. You go to fromthewoods.today.com and it's right there and you can click on it. And him talking about what if you see something in your woods, you can click on that. You can do that with us too.
Yep.
We won't identify it maybe. But you can click on it and go, what is this?
Right.
And we will try to figure out what it is, or at least send you to the appropriate place.
Exactly.
And so if you find anything in your woods, let us know. You have any questions on, let us know that. Also, you can binge watch us for days on fromthewoodstoday.com.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great presenters on there talking about a wide variety of products or programs and issues. But so check those out. And again, if you don't see what you're looking for, let us know.
Let us know, and we might do a show on it.
Yep.
All right. So we are out of time, but we greatly appreciate you, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing
Exactly.
this. So we will see you all next week.
All right.
Take
care,
care,
everybody.
Bye.
From the woods today. From the woods today.